Listen, I remember band concerts being such a big deal as a kid.
That's what makes this funnier, because this was a thing that was planned. It was a huge deal. Their family, all of them are watching.
In the shot alone, you can see 150 people.
This place is packed.
And when you hear them start playing, I'm not lying to you that when I went to the same exact fucking thing with two of my cousins that was in band, I was off of my chair crying, laughing, and all the parents were looking at me like control yourself because you're going to make the kids feel bad.
All right, let's hear it.
Starts out well.
Well, you think.
It starts out great.
They found the one kid who knows what they're doing.
How do we keep the fucking straight face, man?
Trumpet comes back in so sweetly.
It's like they've never played their instrument.
They're going for round 2, aren't
I
they?
don't think they practiced.
Here comes round 2.
5, 6,
7, 8.
This is a lot better.
Percussion's in on it.
They're fucking drunk.
The G.I. Joe, the Eskimo, stabbed her with a knife.
What is that?
This is Chris Hansen.
This is TJ Hushmanzada.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
This is Jamie Hudson.
And I need to let y'all know something. You're listening to.
And you're listening to.
It just makes sense.
This just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Woo! Way better than Chris Hansen.
Yeah, seriously. I want to get involved in the rigging of Fat Bear Week.
In relationship to Fallout Boy.
Oh, Fallout Boy. People are.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh, we got it.
Cut that.
Like, someone should hire you to be a protester. 4 bills dead weight. They're not getting you off that court.
They look at me and I'm like, I fucking dare you.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
dare you.
I mean,
That
like,
tractor, there's nothing that can.
They got to be forklift certified.
Oh, I can't be a Cowboys fan because of this moral high ground that you are on. Bite me. Eat me.
Bite me. Eat me. I mean, gosh.
I'm so sorry to everyone that we just did that to.
Everything I just said before that, I just made that shit up.
Small enough and dumb enough.
Small enough, dumb enough. That's what we want.
That is It Just Makes Sense. What? You don't know that?
What in the weird
No.
You don't know this?
Carol is that?
No.
Okay,
What is
Jingle
that?
Bells, Batman Smells,
I know
Robin
that.
laid an egg, Batmobile lost a wheel, and Joker plays ballet.
I know all that.
Barbie doll tried to save his life, but G.I. Joe, the Eskimo, stabbed her with a knife.
I have not heard that part.
You haven't heard
No.
that part
You
of
just
it?
write that?
You guys have never heard
No.
that version of that?
No.
Not the second part.
No, I've just heard the Batman smells Robin laid an egg. Batmobile lost his wheel and Joker played ballet.
I have no idea where or the stabber with it. It's very aggressive.
Yeah, it
considering
gets dark quick.
very quickly because it's like Batman smells Robin laid an egg, and then it ends with Barbie doll stabbed. Well, G.I. Joe the Eskimo.
It's weird.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. I'm glad we know.
That's how I am the way that I am at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was about
It's
to
all
say.
comes down to that song.
It does come down to
Making
that
a
song.
lot more sense.
Well, that's what the name of the podcast is. Welcome to It Just Makes Sense, presented by Boneyard Beer. Coming up, well, you know what? Let's go ahead because now we're talking about like things that we've heard and everything. We're going to talk about our Christmas party that we had this past weekend in a second, which was a lovely time. But this was something that I teased coming off of last week, which was What Do You Hear? And that was because I don't know if they did it intentionally, but Disney has a very incredible way of sneaking in little things here and there just to, for their own pleasure, things of that nature. And I wanted to bring this up as a possibility. This happened in Toy Story 3. All right? All right? Hold on. Come on with it. What do you hear?
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage!
Fuck.
It's okay. All right, go ahead. I don't care. They're a dime a dozen. Oh, Barbie! Those
Okay,
were vintage.
now you hear "oh fuck," right?
I heard "oh Barbie."
Right? Okay, so whatever you see on the screen, so think about it. For our listeners who can't see the screen, this time I'm going to play it, and I want you to think, "oh Barbie." All right? I want you to think, "oh Barbie," as he's saying it.
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage! It's okay. All right, go ahead.
Oh, Barbie.
He says, "oh Barbie." Now, we're going to do it again. I want you to think him saying, "oh fuck."
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage! It's okay.
I still heard Barbie.
Really?
I heard
Yeah.
fuck on that one.
Yeah. Isn't that wild that it could be the same word and two different things that you hear at the same time? One more time, Braxton.
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage! It's okay.
Oh, Barbie, those are vintage. That's what I hear every
You're
time.
not
Okay,
hearing fuck.
play it
All right.
again.
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage!
I am blown away.
You hear both,
I'm
right?
hearing both.
Really?
Isn't that wild?
Damn it.
Now, was the dress white and gold or blue and black or whatever it was? Or
That was way more confusing than this.
yeah. So, I
That's
thought that was very
weird.
interesting, right?
Is it like you just like train your brain to hear like the wrong lyrics in a song?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like once you hear it, that's what you keep hearing. But this goes back and forth.
It's very
It's
wild,
almost like
isn't
one of
it?
those optical illusions where like the stairs are going towards
Yeah,
you, then
what-
they're
you have
upside
to
down.
You have to flip it, your eyes
Yeah.
the other way, yeah.
It's Inception.
It is. Where's Leo?
Oh, at the beach.
You think?
Either way.
That's
weird.
I'm surprised that you can't hear both, but I mean, maybe
I don't know. I
some
can
other
get
time.
why you would hear "oh fuck," but then it like becomes
Did you not
clear.
hear fuck once?
I can hear like the beginning of it, but then you hear B, and you like the context corrects it. And,
one more time. Close your eyes.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck!
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage! It's okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like he says "f you" about to say.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
not
it's
a
almost like
hard
Farby.
Farby.
Oh, Farby.
Oh, Farby.
I don't know.
Oh, Farby.
I'm just sad that I can't hear it.
Oh, Barbie! Those were vintage!
Either way.
It's okay. All right, go ahead. I don't care. They're a dime a
Well, it was a lovely time to be able to host you guys this past weekend for our Christmas party. We are actually able to have it this year.
Yeah, it was a magical evening. The decorations were stupendous,
Thank you.
inside and out.
Great setup.
It was quite the evening. Great food, great
Yeah.
people.
We
Good
roasted
times.
a 14-pound prime rib, which we decided
have again
got to have
tonight.
again tonight.
Yeah.
Round 2.
And it was cooked perfectly. You did a great
great.
job,
Thank
Peter.
You, thank you. Braxton knows that my love language is words of affirmation, so thank you for that, Braxton.
Of course.
Appreciate
He has
that.
to make up for the last couple weeks.
Braxton, you were able to distribute your annual hot sauce.
Yep.
A lot goes into Braxton's annual hot sauce.
That's right.
I wonder if you can get yourself a little affiliate link so that then our listeners can buy your hot sauce of the year type of a thing.
You know, I maybe could do that. Maybe this next year I can document the process. But then
process,
again,
sure.
then you guys could see all the hot sauces. Maybe I just keep a secret as to which one I choose.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, no, Dawson's Cedar Smoked Garlic Hot Sauce
It's very good.
was the winner this year. My personal favorite hot sauce of all time. And yeah, I'm very
Of all time.
glad to give it to
I
you guys.
still-
smoky and garlicky.
I didn't even try it that first night, though. So I have yet to try it.
It's very good. It's versatile. Can go on a lot of stuff. And in my opinion, it's not terribly spicy. It you'll feel it, but
it
it's
lingers.
Not, it's
but
not going to send you home.
Yeah.
All right.
You get to enjoy the food still. But it's not. Did you not try? Did
I
you
didn't
not try it
try
on the little
no.
tortilla chip?
No, I saw him dab it, and then I was probably a little too drunk to be able to remembered to try it. So
That's okay.
yeah, my bad.
No, but it was a great time. Telestrations was very fun.
A lot
Yes.
of drinks.
Well, so like I am not a good drawer at all. Like, and that was evident by Telestrations After Dark. I still draw the same way that I did when I was like in grade school. Like, I mean, I literally draw like a second grader.
You didn't know that normal sized people existed.
No,
So every
I had
person
this
you
whole
draw is a
big
baby.
sheet, and I drew the tiniest little thing.
Everything Peter drew couldn't have been bigger than a 50-cent piece.
It's like the smallest
It was
people in the
not for
world.
scale.
I mean, a JFK silver dollar could have fit over every single one of his
It
images.
was not for scale at all.
But no, that was a very fun game. I've played that game, Telestrations, just the normal one, with my parents. And I'll tell you what, the After Dark version definitely sends it to another level.
Just a lot of butts.
I drew 6 voluptuous asses in 3 rounds of game. So that's average of 2 per round, boys.
Yeah, you draw a good booty.
You know, there's some things, you just get.
You draw a very good booty. We were sad not to have Mitch and Saran
yes.
this past weekend.
It
because
did make
maybe
me
Hugo
sad.
had the RSV, but they got some food in spirit. But people who did, we kind of. Sorry, Mitch and Saran. We backfilled you a little bit with my brother and his husband Edison, and that was fun to have them as well.
Hopefully Edison will come back.
Yeah, I mean,
Should we talk about that?
Basically, the whole summary of it is that you guys made him say very
I don't know
inappropriate
if you
things.
would. I don't think you can say you
Miguel
guys.
made Edison, who is Chinese, which you just learned. They met in Korea, but he is Chinese.
I think it's because it blew my mind.
It was pretty funny. I was sitting there, but Miguel essentially was just finding, dirty phrases and typing them into Google Translate and then just showing them to Edison and then like giggling.
So mature.
The funny thing was he was, saying stupid stuff like vagina or, whatever. And then the one that really, really got Edison was when Miguel typed pubic hair and he showed it to Edison. And he's like, oh no.
You
bow.
Yeah, bow. He's like, I don't fuck with that shit, man.
Hey, we learned Chinese. We learned Somali from Ikram.
Yeah.
I mean,
those sambosas, whatever.
Sambusas.
Oh, every
Yeah.
time she
The
makes
chutney.
those.
The
It's
chutney
perfect
is
every
fucking
single time.
clutch.
It was funny because my brother and I had been texting prior to them showing up as well, and this was before we'd even talked about him coming that night, but it was him. He had said that he had seen not a music video, a YouTube video, and he said that there was a hypothetical or just kind of this question that the people were debating, and I felt as if we needed to have this conversation here, and the hypothetical was, how hot does a girl have to be where she shits in your bed and you stay with her? Debate.
In a relationship or like a one-night stand?
I mean, just kind of like how much shit, literally and figuratively, are you willing to put up with?
I think we're all at a point in our relationships where if our partners did that, we're not going anywhere.
No.
So I think this is probably a more logical hypothetical in the one-night stand scenario.
So
Jennifer Aniston does it in her prime.
You can't know this person at all. It has to be literally completely based off the looks that and what
Right.
little experience you have with her.
And also, I think there's a lot of questions that are important before you answer the question. That when you say stay with her, be in a relationship or see her again. Number one. Second, is the shit an accident or is it something that she's just a fucking freak and she's like, oh, I'm shit in your bed?
Yeah, is it happening during like sex? Something's going on down there, and then like a little bit of shit comes out. Is she like sleeping drunkenly and then just dumps on you in the middle of the night while you're sleeping?
Like, if this is a fucking prank, I don't give a fuck how hot she is. I'll never see her again. But if she's even like an average looking girl and I like her and it was an accident, I'm not going anywhere. I actually feel bad and I'll help her out. But if it was like a prank and she did that shit on purpose, I don't give a fuck if it's Scarlett Johansson, Megan Fox. I'm never, ever going to
let
see
me
her
create a very specific scenario. So you're going out with this girl, and she's, let's say on the, I hate putting it this way because I feel it's demeaning, but let's say she's a 7 out of 10. Okay?
Okay.
Just a good-looking gal. And you meet her, you take her home, you're having sex, everything goes pretty well, and she's like, oh, my stomach hurts, and you're like, oh, well, if you need to use my bathroom, you can, and she's like, no, I just need to go to sleep. So she basically invites herself to sleep over for the night. You just met her.
But I like her. I get along with her.
You just think she's hot. It's been a drunken night that's been fueled by alcohol and sex.
Okay.
You don't really know her. She's pretty good looking, and she's just saying, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm just going to sleep here.
Okay.
You say, okay, sounds good. And let's say she falls asleep 2 hours, 3 hours into the night. All of a sudden, you wake up, and it's like explosive diarrhea all over you and your bed. Everything, and you wake her up and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how does she react? What is her
she's like,
reaction?
I'm sorry, my stomach hurt, I didn't know this was gonna happen. You still would continue to pursue a relationship or even sex or something with that woman.
But every part of her feels bad. She's like embarrassed and she feels bad.
Yeah, she says
there's no part like, oh, whatever, this shit just happened. Like, even a little bit of a conceited attitude would get rid of me. But if there's not an ounce of that, I'm there.
If it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, I'm so sorry,
I'll clean it up.
But if she's just like, oops, sorry.
Oh, if she's just oops, sorry, you don't want to see
Oops,
that.
sorry.
Oopsie poopsie.
But
If
she feels bad, I will.
Poopsie.
I'll take her to the bathroom, shower. I'll clean it up. I'll throw my sheets
You'll
away.
take her to the bathroom, shower, and clean her up.
Yeah, and I'll throw
You'll
away my
clean
sheets.
her up in the shower.
I don't think she's injured. I guess she can just go and clean herself up.
Come, sweet child. I'll rub you with the loofah.
But
Yeah.
long story short, I'm not going anywhere unless
poop doesn't scare you.
No, it doesn't. And if it's an accident, I would feel bad for the person.
Yeah.
Instead of, think of how traumatizing that is. If she really does feel bad, and I'm the guy who is going to make her feel small by doing that, I'm not going to do that to anyone.
Very moral of you. Very moral.
Okay, I think the follow-up question here is, so let's say this evolves into a beautiful relationship.
Great story, then.
At how many years into the relationship would you feel comfortable when people are like, well, how did you meet? Tell about your
that would be up to
date.
her.
No, because because what would happen
at some
is,
point you're so deep in the relationship you don't care what she says. You're just like, yeah,
and you
let me
wouldn't
tell you this.
dare tell one of us because we would bring that up during a best man speech. Absolutely.
I would tread lightly until it's at until her and I have had that conversation where we could laugh about it, and then I'm smart enough to know that at some point it's okay to talk about it with our friends. And if I had to guess timeline, that's probably like 4 to 5 year mark.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty traumatizing and embarrassing thing to happen to someone.
A little offshoot story. P. Lunt's sister, younger sister, married one of our friends growing up, T. Mitch, and
okay, go on.
In their wedding video, and I think they were dating for maybe 2-3 years before they got married. In their wedding video, they had this videographer do one-on-one interviews with them and so they could basically see their own stories, same questions, but their own take on the stories.
Sure.
And in his story about how they first met, he just was like, yeah, she farted and tried to deny it. And this is on their wedding video that they put out on social media and played at the wedding. And then it cuts to her and she just they ask her, "How did your first date go?" And she just turns red, and she was like, "I know Taylor's gonna tell you that I farted." And she's like, "It never happened." And she tried to deny
what if
it.
he didn't though? That would have been even better.
She outs herself.
Yeah, with just no
Which
context.
I didn't, by the way.
No, I didn't do that.
Anyways,
Yeah. I did think, speaking of random hypotheticals, there was something that Marlon Humphrey of the Ravens had put up for debate this week, and apparently it was very much a discussion within the locker room, which was who would win or what would win in a fight, one gorilla versus 100 humans, and the humans are just like that. Like, I mean, just no weapons, no nothing. Who's winning?
No question. The fucking gorilla.
You think?
There's the difference between a human. I don't care if there's 500 of them and a gorilla. There's at some point as a human being, it's just like it's ingrained in us. There's fear, and also at some point you'll quit. Like if you feel a hit, you'll quit. The gorilla doesn't have any of that. The gorilla will just keep going until they're all fucking gone. I will put my money on the gorilla. And if you have weapons, that's a different story. But if you're talking about 100 average-sized humans, gorilla all the way.
I think the numbers are just too lopsided. I mean,
I don't think it matters.
100, able-bodied humans could overtake, I feel like, a gorilla pretty quickly. Like, I assume that this gorilla would be able to take a lot of them down, but 100 versus 1 is just so many. No animal, as strong as they are, can take on that much at once.
But
you know what I mean?
When you think about the number 100, how quickly do you think that'll dwindle down? The gorilla gets 10, and those 10 people feel the wrath of the gorilla. Do you think they keep going?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even while those 10, 15, 20, let's say, get absolutely mangled and thrown off, the attention that gorilla is giving that 10 to 20, the other 80 can easily grab his legs and arms, 10 on each one, and hold it down. And then another one just grabs a rock or whatever and just scratches
Right, yeah,
its head,
I was thinking,
There's no weapons.
I know I said no weapons, but like I feel like rocks would eventually come into play.
Okay, if that completely changes it.
But okay,
But gorillas have the same ability to use those rocks.
here's another thing too, and I'm going to vote for the gorilla and then against the gorilla in two different ways. Number one, kind of to what Braxton was saying, is that like his attention is on these 10. Like, does the gorilla have the wherewithal to understand that there's 90 more coming at a certain point? Number one. But on the flip side, could 100 humans at a single time try and take on a gorilla? No. So that's kind of because there'd be just too many, not enough coordination, or at least you'd have to have an incredible game plan going in with it. So I feel like you eventually wear down. It's kind of like what happens with the matador, right? Like, I mean, you just tire that, they do stab the darn bull, but I mean, they wear down this one bull over a course of like 4 hours. They just wear him down, and then eventually they win.
I would just bank on the fact that the gorilla does not have the same ability to think and feel like a human. In some senses, where
that they're constantly fighting like they're out of a corner.
A gorilla wouldn't go, I just beat the shit out of 10 people, I have 90 more coming. It's just like, this is what I'm doing right now, and there's no long-term thinking there. And
I think that there might be some truth to what you're saying, but I think that primates experience a lot more similar emotions and fears and things like that to us than you probably would believe.
But I'm saying the little gap that we have between us and them is enough and with the strength of the fucking gorilla, I think that's enough.
I think where what you're saying comes into play and is correct, and I think is really the hardest question or version of this question, is 100 people coming in waves of 10. Could
10 rounds of 10.
Yes. Could the
You certainly
gorilla,
don't want to be in the first 10 if you're the
No.
or the second 10.
You're trying to be.
You're trying to be in like 60 and.
No, I'm like 90 to 99 guy.
Well, I'm
You're the
saying,
mop-up crew.
I'm saying
You're
my
the mop-up.
answer is
Or 90 to or 80 to 89.
Sure.
my answer
second
is
to last.
gorilla for the wave, like all 100. The waves, that's an easier answer for me.
The gorilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in waves of 10, yes, because I'm taking the gorilla with not in waves, like all 100 people.
Yeah,
just-
no, I think that's ridiculous. The sheer numbers, there's no way. Like even 100 humans could take down. In fact, now that we're talking about this, I'm pretty sure there's a guy who like does these simulations. He has like this program where he can basically create human little AIs that have equal strength amongst them, and then he creates proportionately elephants or gorillas, and he does all these different things.
Yeah, I think I've seen like 10 T-Rexes against like a million.
Yeah, rats.
Something stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think the sheer numbers, there's no way. I mean, not no way. I think 100 simulations, humans win 98 times.
I disagree.
There you go.
I gotta
That's
see
why.
this.
That's why it was such a big debate.
Huge.
Such a big debate. Speaking of huge, did you guys hear about what Brock Purdy's nickname was? Brock Purdy, the newly anointed Mr. Irrelevant starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Is it I want to rock and roll all night and Purdy every day?
That's. Did you come up with that right at the top of your head? Because
He
that's
did it because
not.
I saw that too.
All right. That's not bad. It's just way too long.
Wasn't that a sign? That was a sign at the game, right?
No. I don't think so.
There's a sign. I thought that's what it said on the sign when
That's not where I got it from.
when McCaffrey was getting interviewed.
It's a lot simpler than that, actually, in a not safe for work nickname. Brock Purdy somehow has, amongst his 49ers teammates, been anointed as Big Cock Brock.
Oh, BCB?
BCB. Big Cock Brock.
Because he has a big cock is because he's been playing well.
Does it matter?
I think that they said that before he had
It
even
kinda
played
does.
a game. So, yeah, he had not even started a game, so he already had the Big Cock moniker before
He had the
ever...
respect right away.
Already,
look
yeah.
what that did for Nick Folk. I mean, that sent them to
Nick Foles. Nick Foles
Oh
is
yeah,
the
not
kicker.
the kicker, not
Right.
the kicker. Nick Foles. Big Dick Nick. He won a Super Bowl. So that bet might be good, Miguel.
It's always, listen, I don't know if, I assume, because everyone says it, that Pete Davidson, Saturday Night Live, and who has banged very attractive women, has a gigantic penis. But you should just always start the rumor mill about yourself that you have a big dick, right? Just like, start it early, middle school, and then let it follow you for the rest of your life.
I have a theory.
I disagree.
You don't want to be the big dick kid?
Because I
As
really
a person
don't think
whose nickname was Millimeter Peter in middle school, go on.
all I'm saying is the size of your penis really doesn't matter at all unless it's incredibly small. Like if you have a micro penis, then yes, I would definitely be concerned about what people are saying. But like,
I
unless
don't give a shit what people say.
What?
Just went over.
No, I got it. Jesus Christ. But I feel like as you get older,
Late?
it's like girls are still gonna have sex with you, and if you're like, oh yeah, I have a small cock, whatever, and then they see it and it's like, oh geez, it's not. Even if it is a little bit smaller, if you always say it's small, they're gonna create an image in their head that it's teeny, and then they're gonna see it and be like, oh gosh, that's not as small as I thought it was gonna be. So then your guys, and then when they talk to other girls and they're like, oh, how was that? I heard you had a small dick, and then they say, actually, it's not.
This is literally internal dialogue by Braxton right now. This is years of justification
Strategy.
For your tiny penis.
Every guy who says
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Every guy who says they have a big dick, probably 99% of them have a small dick.
They don't.
They drive a lifted truck, and they wear affliction shirts. And Ed Hardy.
Why? Okay.
Pete, did you ever wear affliction shirts?
I have no idea what that even means.
Oh, thank God.
I wore painter's pants.
That's
You definitely have a big dick.
Well, thanks
oh,
about
gosh.
that. I don't know how to transition out of that.
I have one thing I wanted to share with you guys because I don't think you've seen this, and I think this is great.
Speaking of penis.
This is an interview with Travis Kelce, and he was asked a question before their game on Sunday against the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
Travis Kelce shares the conversation he had with Russell Wilson. Or the conversation he had with Russell Wilson before their game. I got a chance to meet Russ before the game. Nice enough guy, but there's an ever-present stepdad who tries too hard. Cringe that permeates the air around him. He asked me if I thought people who watch Harry Potter were going to hell. When I laughed and told him I didn't know, he asked who my favorite Harry Potter character was, and I replied, Hagrid. And he told me he'd be praying for me. He had a lot of nervous energy like a theater kid recording a TikTok movie monologue. His voice kept shifting accents while we talked, like a computer that was trying to sync up with my voice. I don't know. Seemed like a dude who would hang out with Patrick's brother. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
That can't be real.
It's not real.
That cannot be real.
But it was funny.
You had me until the Patrick's brother thing.
He would never
Because he would never talk
ill
about his
Jackson.
quarterback's family.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
That is pretty funny.
Could have
It
been
sounds
real.
Great.
Sounds like
you had me.
Yeah.
Honestly, you had me until you said the
it's
Patrick's brother.
Maybe that's the Chat GPT thing that came from.
That's
It's like,
something that
tell
Travis
me-
Kelce would say.
Tell me a story about Russell Wilson. He told me that he'd be praying for me. That is pretty funny.
The thing that got me is his voice kept shifting accents, which I thought was hilarious. For
Like
some
the
reason.
wonderful girl.
Awful.
Wonderful.
By the way, I don't know if anybody kept up with that conversation a few weeks ago, but we have found this woman. We are on to her, and we are seeking answers.
Hey, how much
We'll
peanut
keep you
butter do you
updated.
eat?
We'll
You think
keep
we
you
could get her
updated.
on the show? Or you think that that's just
I
like
bet-
a thing
I
that she
mean-
records?
If we ask her
And
the
we
way we
do
talk
it.
now,
You
she
know
would
what?
understand
There's
us.
no
You
way.
know what? I'm going down this rabbit hole. I'm going to reach out to her.
Okay. Yeah. Get her on the podcast. See how it goes. Let her know that we record in the middle of the night. Is kind of where we're at.
Well, gosh, it's too late.
Yeah. Let's see. While you reach out to her, we will bring it down just a little bit, which is the fact that Mike Leach looks like he's not going to make it.
No boy.
And possibly by the time that this recording comes out, we may hear word that he has passed. And apparently suffered a very big heart attack at his home and then was not found right away, had some brain damage, and now his family is he's in hospice care. All of this is kind of like swirling rumor mill, whatever. But Mike Leach, a national treasure, a nice guy, just an amazing interview, and I don't know what we're going to do without him on this podcast.
Man, that recruit, that goodbye or farewell letter is not aging well.
I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
The player that he
There
had.
was a player who went into the transfer portal and basically did this open letter on social media where he was kind of trashing Mike Leach and the coaching at Mississippi State.
He
Great guy.
had all of his thank yous, like thank you to my fellow players and everyone who got me to where I'm at. And then the last bit of his open letter was, and because Coach Leach doesn't think I'm tough enough, I'm gonna be entering the transfer portal.
Oh, fine.
It's his fault.
Yep, I know. That was what took him down.
No, it is very sad, especially something so immediate like this. But you're right. The amount of times that we've brought him up on this podcast I don't even know if we should continue. We don't have anything.
Yeah, we might have to just hang this up
without Mike Leach.
Yeah, at least he went out a winner, beating Ole Miss this past year, I think. So, right, who knows? It didn't matter what his record was because not only was he just unabashedly Mr. Air Raid, but he just made a mockery of press conferences, and it was the best thing ever. All right, he's riding a hot streak. Let's get to Walsh.
Let's give Wolfie a proper welcome, huh?
Hey,
yeah,
thanks for coming back.
Well, man, no.
Thanks for having me back. I always
12 in a row,
on.
right?
12 in a row.
Woo. And if I'm not mistaken, right, the last week that you lost, you were on here.
Yep.
And then you've done 12 straight since.
I think we jokingly were talking about, I think Pete said something like, hey, now that you're back on, you ran a little bit of a heater last time you were on the show. I think I had like 4 wins in a row or something. So we joked about it. But yeah, it's been 12 in a row. And so actually it's, okay, so yeah, so that would be 12. So going for 13. But, everything, it's just been a good year in general. Like little things I bet too, like little prop bets, like pass attempts for Tom Brady this last game, or, just little things. They're all coming in, but the teaser is definitely the one I hit the biggest. So
I think the best thing about the teaser is it allows people like me to fuck around with stupid parlays because I can rely on the insurance of the teaser.
Yeah.
And so he breaks even every week.
It's been very good.
Yeah.
My DraftKings account is sitting nice.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
So it leaves room for your your alt spreads.
My spread alternates.
Your spread alternates.
I'm in the green on that one.
Yeah.
You've hit a couple of those, dude. You've sent me that are really
I've
impressive.
only hit 2, but because they hit for 4 or 500
right
at $40 bets, the 12 or 13 weeks, I'm in the green by like $30.
Yeah, I think we did the math on it. I think if you can hit like 3, maybe 4 of those a year, it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so basically I did the math on what I'm picking. It's like 82.7% for the season or something like almost 83%. So if you look at that, and because there's a lot of skeptics out there that are like, oh, the teasers, it's,
I saw that motherfucker, Walsh. I held my tongue. There was enough people backing you on that one comment.
Was this on Instagram or something?
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. There was a guy when you posted like 10 weeks in a row or 11 in a row. Some guy's like, what is this bullshit minus 140? This is a fucking joke.
Yeah, he did.
Do you know that guy?
No, I don't know who that is. No. But if you saw my response to him was just like, hey, to each their own, dude. Play how you want to play. This works for me,
Your
just sounds like
better than I would have.
Yeah, and then a couple people like got after him, like Jalen, the guy who follows me, kind of lit into him. But look, the stark reality is that guy's probably losing, and so he sees that and he's like, that's a joke of a bet, blah blah blah. But the stark reality is minus 140 is not. If you're hitting minus 140 bets, no matter what you're playing, if you bet like a New England Buffalo game and it's minus 2.5, you're going to be looking at the team laying the 2.5 as like a minus 140 money line favorite, right? So that's a fucking hard game to pick. So are we allowed to swear on here? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, am I going to get you? Okay. And so
yes, you are.
So, dude, think about picking 12 straight games where a team's favored by 2.5. You don't know anyone who's going to do it. It's just not going to happen. You don't know anyone who's probably going to rattle off 5 or 6 in a row. The odds are just against you. So that's why I started doing the teaser. And I think it's the proof's in the pudding. When you're posting weekly, you can see the track record. So, I mean, it's there. And other people can say they're winning, but these aren't people who are posting on Instagram the week before their play. So
the most impressive thing about the 12-win streak is there hasn't been any picks that have made you nervous. They've all come. Yeah, they've all come in pretty well. The only pick was last night. The over on the Chargers game.
Yeah,
That's the only one that's made me nervous.
That was sketchy, dude, and I was a little surprised at how inept the Dolphins looked, but especially against the Charger defense that's so banged up. But you're going to have outlier games, but yeah, they trotted Sanders out, and they were like, "Oh, he hasn't hit from over 50 in like 2 seasons," and I was like, "Oh God!" And then he just corked it right down the middle. So you have to have a little bit of luck, even in the teaser, obviously. So no, I'm pretty pleased with it, and I know Mark was all after me. You're saying I lost my focus, and he was pretty pissed. So I definitely made this kind of more of a year where it was kind of redemption season. I put a lot more time into it.
So really what you're saying is that your love life is in shambles because
Jesus.
Well, what he said was that like maybe he got a little distracted last year by the hinges and the Tinders a little bit. Yeah. I'm just saying that that you're lonely, but at least you have a lot of money.
Or maybe he's found himself a woman and he's having sex regularly. He doesn't have to really think about anything else.
Walsh, I'm not a part of this.
No, I'll tell you what, Pete is 100% right. 100% right.
I'm so sorry. I'm never right on this podcast, but
hey, last year I did tell you guys, I was very open. I was like, a lot of bumbling, a lot of hinge or whatever the hell the apps are, a lot of So it takes time away. And no, actually, no, I'm still single, but definitely in a more like dialed in space, right? Where I've gone through a whole dating phase. So, but
you're
anyway,
single, but you're fucking rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Your wallet's full. That's what matters.
Never be bold.
Hey, the DraftKings account is doing well, and dude, I hit that Minnesota Vikings future, right, which was a huge bet. So,
I know I was going to bring that up. The Vikings have been fairly dominant, but I think one thing, if you ask the common man watching football, I don't think at least myself and a lot of people I talk to are like completely sold on them. Why do you think that is? Is it just the history of like Kirk Cousins? Is it the point differential thing? And do you think that once they get in the playoffs, they're actually going to be able to continue this streak?
Yeah, it's interesting because I made the same bet last year that they would make the playoffs, right? And they finished 8-9 and missed it by a game. And I think last year they lost like 6 or 7 games by 6 points or less. And this year they're 9-0 in games decided by 6 points or less. So they're kind of fool's gold. Look, they're my team. They've got an amazing offense. That can't be questioned. They've got a lot of skill players. Their defense is really bad, like really bad. When you can't stop people, you're not going to go far in the playoffs. I liked them because I knew their offense was going to be loaded. And I looked at their schedule and I was like, okay, it's pretty soft for the most part. So to have a winning record to me at -120 or whatever it was, I thought was a really good bet. So yeah, I hammered the hell out of that. And to get that by week 11 was amazing.
Right. Okay. So a couple of questions kind of going off of that. What was your thoughts when the Lions opened up as favorites this past week? Was that just like, do you consider that more of like, hey, this is where the money's going and that's why the line is the way that it is? Or was it like, hey, how about the Lions now?
Yeah, was that like offensive? Obviously, hindsight, they won and it was correct. But I think going into the game, I was like, what the hell is
I thought it was a fluke.
I don't think it was too offensive because you give, Vegas is always going to give the home team that 3.5 point. Right. And if you look at the game at Minnesota, it was really close. The Lions should have won. I think it was like 4th and 2 from the Minnesota 39 or something, and Dan Campbell could have gone for it to end the game. And instead, he trotted out his kicker who missed, setting Minnesota up at Detroit's 45 with a short field, essentially. So, no, I saw the line and I thought, maybe a little disrespectful for a team that's 9 or 10-2, but Detroit plays them really well, and home field's a big deal, and Minnesota's defense sucks. So I actually expected Minnesota to lose that game. So I'm glad my bet was in already and I didn't have to sweat it too much. And no, I don't think Minnesota's going to do anything. In fact, if they host a playoff game, you'd be smart to take the other team in the points. So that's just bet
them in the regular season, not in the playoffs.
Realistic fan.
So obviously, since we last talked a few months ago, what we have seen from perennial powerhouses, or at least the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world, is two teams and two players that you don't want to bet a lot of money on, and you've been wise to, at least relatively stay away from them. But I mean, that's definitely a change this year when you have these guys who could be old reliables, or you see, hey, the Tom Brady's going back to his hometown and going back, all of these things where they are traps potentially. And you're having to kind of weigh your options on when, these teams are potentially going to turn it around, or have they, or whatever, versus what has happened this year.
Yeah, I think you look at Tampa Bay, and it's always tempting to take them, right? Like, because Tom Brady's there. But I mean, you could see early on in the season that he was kind of, things aren't there for him. I don't know if it's like everything he went through personally, but he's skipping balls, he's throwing people, he's just older, and then no chemistry with Mike Evans this year, and their defense isn't as good. So yeah, it's things like that. Like, people want to keep betting Tom Brady, people want to keep betting Aaron Rodgers, and this year it just hasn't worked out. And I've stayed awake. I like staying away from those teams now, and I've definitely this year adjusted, and I stay away from the heavy favorite. So if you look at my teaser, I'm usually always giving a team 4.5 points or more. I never take it down to pretty much a pick 'em. It's rare. And I never lay points with the heavy favorite. Last year, that killed me like 3 or 4 times. So,
right, yeah. So the Bills you might take on points, but a lot of times they're 2 touchdown favorites, or at least 10 there. So those
right, like against the Jets,
haven't been able to pick a lot just because they've been so heavily favored.
Yeah, I will play them this week. Just a little sneak peek into one pick here. I will take them. I think it's -7.5 hosting Miami. I think Miami is really beat up. Tyreek Hill's hurt. Their left tackle doesn't look good. So
Tua hasn't looked good in the last couple of games.
Tua's looked bad, man. I'm not a believer in Miami. I put Miami in that same Minnesota Vikings category. It's just a lot of flash and no pop. Like no substance. When they get to the playoffs, they're going to get punched in the face. In fact, I'd take the Jets over the Dolphins if you're talking about just a team come January.
I like the Jets. I'm going to the Jets game in Seattle on New Year's Day, and I think that's going to be a very, very fun game. That's going to mean a lot for both those teams.
A lot. And yeah, dude, I actually really like the way the Jets play. Now they lack a quarterback, so that
was the next thing. Was like, they've tried to stay as far away from Zach Wilson as possible, and then they light Mike White up, and he's going to the hospital in an ambulance.
Just give Joe Flacco the starting job and then ride into the win. He's not a backup. You can't bring him in halfway through. He wasn't warm.
Look at Joe. Talk about old.
Yeah.
Hey, the Niners play the Seahawks this week, right? That's going to be a good game.
Thursday night game. Yeah.
That's the Thursday night game, and then we got some games on Saturday. Nothing like spectacular. Minnesota hosts the Colts, who aren't great. Oh well, you got Dolphins Bills, so that would be a game I referenced.
Right. Well, the 49ers game, back to that, is that Brock Purdy is getting evaluated for an oblique injury. You have no idea what's going to go on with him. So that's kind of a tough play this week as well.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Cincinnati at Tampa, because this is kind of like, in my opinion, Tampa's last opportunity to regroup and build some momentum heading into the end of the season. I know their division sucks, but if they come out and look bad and get smoked by Cincy, you can stick a fork in the Bucs. I mean, they're not going to win their division. I'd expect that game.
Who is Carolina? Like what the hell's going on?
I think so. I think Carolina is the team. Yeah, Carolina is the team that's playing the best. But anyway, it's been a great season. But I posted a future today of Philadelphia to win the NFC at +160. So that's my next big bet. Yeah, so I took the Eagles today, put quite a bit of dough on them at +160. They were +180 coming into the weekend, but I wanted to make sure they got past the Giants, because that's a tricky game. So I'm still pretty happy at +160. The way I see it is Dallas is banged up. I don't trust Dallas to go on the road and win that game. And then I think the Niners, come on, Purdy's not going to go into Philadelphia in an NFC championship game and win. That's just not happening. So I think it's pretty good odds. In the AFC, it's too much. everyone's like, oh, I get messages. Who do you like in the AFC? Do you like the Chiefs? Do you like Buffalo? Or shit, look out for Cincinnati. I just think it's a coin toss, right, between those three teams.
So do you think a Super Bowl bet, a future Super Bowl bet on the Niners is done?
Yes.
Cool.
I do.
Is there a cash out?
You make any bets today, Miguel?
Yeah.
I mean, could that come in? You probably got tremendous odds. It's possible, right? But
it's plus 900. I just put a little bit on it.
Okay, well, ride it out. I just don't see them beating the Eagles, especially without Jimmy G. But that's kind of my next.
Well, he could come back for the playoffs, apparently, right?
Is that what they're saying? Okay.
Probably. I mean, that's their wishful thinking, I would imagine. But yeah, so he's not going to have the Liz Frank surgery. And so, he's just going to try and rehab it through. But
how do you feel about the Pats? I know you were high on them last time we talked to you here. What do you think is happening?
I think it's been a disappointing. As someone who really likes New England, historically they've been good to me when I bet on them. But something up with Mac Jones this year just didn't take that leap that I thought he would. And their defense isn't very good, dude. I mean, they're not slowing people down. They're missing Barmore, their big stud D tackle, which is really hurt them.
Bread and butter. Is their Belichick defense is usually how they go far.
Exactly. Now they look good tonight, but that was a bad Arizona team, right? And they lost Kyler.
Do you notice too that Mac Jones for a sophomore quarterback is like a lot pissy? Like a lot pissier than normal. I
think
throwing his hands up, questioning the coaches, and
that's kind of what was going to lead into my other questions. I feel like this year at the Patriots, there's more of this kind of question as to who's in control. Obviously, we know Bill's in control, but like who's calling the offense, who's in charge of the defense? There seems to be a lot of like the Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing to each other at the same time, and there's not really one person that's like taking the responsibility or in charge of this, which you can see is starting to like lose that kind of Patriot way with the players. They're nipping back at the coaches. People are getting pissed and getting emotional, where I feel like in the Tom Brady years, we didn't see that stuff. Do you think this is really just a player issue, or is it really so much the coach's fault as well, as I would assume, at least?
That's a good question. I think it's more of like, I just think there's the lack of talent, right? Like, I just don't think it's the same. I don't think they have the same pieces. Getting to what Miguel said, there is something with Mac Jones, right? With his attitude, he's kind of frustrated. But putting Patricia at offensive coordinator, I don't think that's a good move either. He's a defensive mind, right? Like, and his play calling's been pretty horrible. On third and fourth and shorts, he's running some just atrocious play calls. Which I don't think Josh McDaniels will be doing. For some reason, McDaniels sucks everywhere he goes except for when he's in New England. It's amazing.
Yeah. Let me follow this up too, because talking about Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator, I think that like part of that pissiness that we're seeing with Mac Jones is like, listen, like you're not setting me and you're not setting us up to succeed. And coming into tonight's game or during tonight's game, here's a stat for you. He attempted 21 passes tonight. 10 of those passes were at or behind the line of scrimmage. Just 6 traveled more than 10 yards downfield. They're just dinking and dunking, screen passing, optioning off to a running back type of a thing, to where it's just like there's nothing innovative and you don't have a deep thread. And, I think that's part of it. Is just kind of like, dude, like, open this up a little bit. Like, what the hell are we doing here? You're treating me like I'm some sort of third string quarterback that, like, everyone else is hurt. Like, empower me, trust me. And I think that's kind of a problem there.
And I think that's what he said last week, right? He kind of vented to the media that everything was short and they weren't really pushing the ball down the field. I mean, as a quarterback, especially one coming from Alabama, where you're used to that big shot, right, to stretch the defense or to get it to your talent. New England doesn't have that. They're built with like Nelson Aguilar's like their deep threat, which doesn't say a lot. And then they've got like Parker. They've got Parker and Bourne and Hunter Henry, who's a pretty solid tight end, but everything's short. Everything's a ground and pound and like short play action game. It's pretty hard to watch, actually. And when you see them play a team like Buffalo, that's just not going to get it done when you don't have any kind of like, they can keep it close with Buffalo, but you always feel like Buffalo is going to break it open because they've got so many more game breakers, and New England can't push the ball down the field. So, but what you do see with my Vikings, I should say, they have that offensive explosiveness. So they're able to compete with teams. And if you look at that Bills game, it's a miracle they won it. But they were down 17. They were able to use Justin Jefferson. They got Dalvin Cook rolling. Then they kind of got in this rhythm where even the Bills defense was really struggling to slow them down. Now, Josh Allen, had a bad game and turned the ball over and whatnot. But you've got to have an offense that can, if New England's defense isn't clicking, like Pete says, you can't just do short dink and dunks. It's not going to get you anywhere. So, yeah, it's been a disappointing season for them, and I expect them to miss the playoffs. And even if they do get in, they'll be out in the first round.
What else you guys got for Walsh?
Didn't tonight clinch it
for them?
Did New England make the playoffs because of the win tonight?
They're 7-6. They're 7-6 now.
I don't know if
there's very few that have clinched at this point.
Yeah, I don't think they've clinched yet.
They're fighting with the Chargers right now for a playoff spot, which I'd actually like to see the Chargers get in because I think they're more dangerous if they get healthy. And I'm all Herbert homer, so
yeah, I think the Chargers are definitely a 7 seed that you don't want to play. Whereas I think you can go into a New England game with a little more confidence.
How do you feel about Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, I'm really high on him. I thought he would be the MVP lead candidate. I think right now, I don't even think he's in the discussion. I think it's like between Hurts and Mahomes. But the guy's an extraordinary talent, right? He's big, he's physical, he can run the ball, he's got a cannon for an arm. Now, he does make some throws. Like if you remember that Vikings game, they drove down the field and he just threw it right to Patrick Peterson, right? When you're in field goal range for a tie and you just gun it. So he makes those wild throws that sometimes are just awful. Like he'll be hot, and then he throws it right to the other team. So I think there's things like that where Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than him, as far as
it's like his decision making with the errant throws and even like what are you trying to prove by not sliding? And you're the franchise quarterback and you're risking your body on these first down runs and he's going and initiating contact.
Dude, you've noticed that too, right? Like he goes and like lowers his shoulder or tries to like carry a couple of guys. It's like, dude, you're not going to last. That's just like, that's a bad injury waiting to happen because someone's going to just lay him out. So,
they're looking for that. Like, especially for somebody like him, it's not the fucking state championship. You have nothing to prove. You get down and Buffalo's nothing without you.
Yeah, he needs to slide. So I think there's some things I had high hopes for him. I think he's an amazing quarterback. I think he's a couple years away. In fact, I'd take Joe Burrow right now over Josh Allen just for the fact that he's got, between the years, I think he's just a more clutch quarterback, right? Like I think you can trust him more to make the big play. So look out for the Bengals.
He seems to be one of the best, if not the best, decision maker as far as quarterbacks goes out there. I mean, I think you could put, Hurts and Mahomes in that same category. But even then, part of their game is making some of those more risky moves. And thankfully, they, connect most of the time. But Joe just seems to be very safe, secure, and just smart player when it comes to that sense.
Very, very smart player. He'll take a sack when he needs to. He'll slide when he needs to. If they're in field goal range, you'll notice that if it's not there, he just kind of throws it away or throws it out of bounds. Secure that field goal. There's just little things about him. He's very mature. He's like beyond his years. He's a young player, but he plays like a veteran. And I'm a big Burrow fan, and I think that the Bengals are a team to really, really keep an eye on because they're capable of going into Buffalo and winning, no question about it. They already showed us last year they could beat the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. So
just imagine if Burrow had protection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they could give him a little more time. Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun, guys. It's going to be great.
we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in our show, but we're like kind of like redrafting to a degree the 2020 draft class, or if you were to start your franchise with one of these three being Burrow, Tagovailoa, and Herbert coming out of that, top. Are you taking Burrow, or are you more leaning towards one of the others?
I think that's a good question. I think definitely not Tua, right? Tua's good, when he has time, but number one, he's not a great scrambler. Number two, he makes some bad decisions.
Yeah, take away the middle, and Tua is just
like last night, he really struggled, dude. So Herbert's the most talented of those three. Like if you talk about he's 6'6" or 6'7" or whatever he is, has that cannon for an arm, more mobile than all of, Burrow's not super fast. Herbert can actually run. But my answer right now is I'd take Burrow because I just think there's something about him as a team leader. Herbert's kind of a quiet guy. You don't see him rallying the troops much. You don't see him in a post-game interview really firing up the team. Joe Burrow is more of a leader. And I just think he's really, really cerebral. And yeah, I think he's the guy you want leading the team from the quarterback position, where I think Herbert is an incredible talent, but definitely a really quiet guy and likes to be behind the scenes. And I think that maybe hurts his leadership, but I love him. I mean, he's great, but I would go Joe Burrow for sure.
And
that's how
one last question that I had, I don't know how much time we have left, but with kind of a more clear picture of the playoffs here, gun to head, who's your Super Bowl matchup and winner?
Okay. I'm going to go Eagles, just like I said, to win the NFC. I think they have a pretty damn good path. And then out of the AFC, God, I'm going to say the Bills. So I'm going to go Eagles, Bills, and I think the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And I'll say this right now. I'm going to say Eagles win the Super Bowl over the Bills with a final score of 27-23.
Love it. And I guess a follow-up is, do you feel that the NFL can handle the infrastructure of an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl with all those fans, the way they travel and the way they are? Is that going to be one of the greatest Super Bowls ever?
Yeah, talk about security, having to beef that up at
have to bring in the National Guard.
Dude, you may
tables will get fucking
in
wrecked.
Arizona this year.
Yeah, all these cold weather fans come out to Phoenix for a week. They're gonna get wild.
Yeah, and if I were to pick an alternate Super Bowl, now I'm gonna stick with the one I said, but something tells me if it wasn't gonna be the Eagles and the Bills, I think you'd be looking at like a Dallas, not the Niners, but like a Dallas versus Cincinnati Super Bowl. For some reason that popped into my head, but so that would be kind of my alternate. That would be kind of a fun one.
Beckham Jr. comes and saves the day.
Yeah, and you know what?
You see who Dallas signed today, right?
No.
T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton.
Oh, okay.
Not the signing.
They said, fuck OBJ. We're getting T.Y.
You're ready now.
Shit, dude. I don't understand. I know OBJ played okay for the Rams last year, but I don't understand all the hype. Everyone's acting like he's some savior.
I said that last week.
Yeah, it's like, who's the missing piece here? Yeah, it's like
he did nothing in Cleveland for like 2 years. He like in my fantasy league, he was cut, dude. Like nobody had him on their team. So
he's had one highlight catch.
Yeah,
that's all we know him for.
I can't believe they keep talking about like, oh, where's Odell signing? It's like, dude, it's not like he's, Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson floating around out there, so.
Right. I mean, if he were that good, he would have signed before the season and they would have waited on him, right? They would have paid him to be injured, but that's just.
I think Drake London over OBJ right now.
Well, he's actually playing, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to follow Walsh at Wolf of Walsh Street, STRT on Instagram. We'll link out all of his handles as well. 12 in a row. Let's hope that we did not mess this up for you, Walsh.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. No jinx. Don't even think about a jinx right now, okay?
No, I'm not. I'm pretty confident next week's slate. I'll probably post, I'm going to do my pod tomorrow night, I believe, and then I'll end up posting probably Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, looking for number 13. Let's keep it rolling. And anyone who wants to jump on a future to make the season fun as we head into the playoffs, I'd strongly recommend Eagles at plus 160 if you can grab
Well, now
it.
that you said the Niners are a dumb bet, I got to even it out.
Yeah.
I'm right after we're done, I'm putting in it.
Yeah, and for our
Nice.
female listeners, if you want to slide into his DMs, at Wolf of Wall,
Wall Street.
Which,
I
hey,
appreciate the
surprisingly,
plug.
we have about 46% female viewership on our social media. So
Hit
could
me
be
up.
the lucky
Let's
one.
go. If you like football and you like to bet, that even better. So
Walsh, I just want to take this national platform to thank you. I haven't had to deposit money on DraftKings since August.
There we go.
Yeah.
good, Miguel.
Keeping his
Good,
kids
dude.
fed.
Yeah, and if nothing else, ladies, the man has a ton of money right now.
Walsh is so fucking rich. I might slide into his DMs. Jesus Christ, just do it.
Well, good, dude. I'm glad I could get Slappy back on track and that you're winning money. So it was definitely a personal thing this year.
I was always on the wagon. He's a turd, so
Yeah.
he doesn't deserve that. I'll take it from him.
All right. Well,
All
thanks
right,
for
well,
having
thanks,
me, guys.
Walsh.
Thanks for joining
We'll
us.
talk with you next time.
All right. Take care, guys.
See ya.
But positive vibes are circling around the Detroit Lions. Went 5-1 since Jeff Daniels and Peyton Manning tried to rid the curse of the Detroit Lions. Do you guys see that video where they had like the bath of whiskey and they were trying to? No. Oh, okay.
No.
Well, we'll show it to you guys
In the
later.
locker room?
No, it was out on the field, and they were trying to reverse a curse of the Detroit Lions. And since that video has come out, the
Whenever
Lions
they
are
did, it
5-1. And the reason why I knew they were going to turn it around was because I watched Hard Knocks.
Do you think you're a part of it?
I am a part of it. I am every bit a part of their success, as Dan Campbell himself.
Then put your money where your mouth is and take him to win the NFC.
The whole NFC, not just the North.
Mm-mm.
Well, they won't win the North. They
Do
can't
both.
win the North. Not going to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I do not think I'm going to do that. So, but it's interesting. Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I definitely put money on the Vikings, as a money line bet. I think it was at like plus 120 or something like that, $10 to win 20.
I brought it up
like
last
that,
week.
but
I was like, oh, this is a fluke, but I didn't.
I just wasn't sure if like it was like because of the money, right? Like how money was being shifted, but then, go out and win that game and have a path to the playoffs.
I want the Lions in there. Let's do it.
Right now, the Detroit Lions have a 14% chance to make the playoffs, according to this interactive predictor pool by the New York Times.
Do they still have a losing record, even at 5-1?
6-7, yeah.
Oh.
But went from 3% to 14%. So how about it? Either way.
Sorry.
Yeah, how about it?
Falcons are going to the playoffs.
No, they're not. I mean, like anything could happen in that division at this point. The Falcons actually went from a 32% to a 5% chance week over week, while the Panthers, winners this past week, who don't know how to tank, went from a 4% chance to an 18% chance to make the playoffs. So,
I mean, as bad as they look, I think Tampa Bay still takes that division.
at 6-7, they have a 77% chance of making the playoffs than the Bucs do. So,
I mean, they look horrible, but I think the other three are just way worse than them.
Coming off of our conversation with Walsh, I mean, we all saw how Brady's done this all year, and I don't know if I've just noticed it more this year, but the way he is just like chewing guys' asses out on the sidelines, only to follow it up with his own dog shit play, is not the best look in the world for good old Tommy.
Yeah, it's one of the first times you've seen him lose control so much. Not only off the field, like with his players on the sidelines and with coaches and throwing the tablets, but on the field as well. He doesn't have that same command and control as you're used to seeing, and it's odd.
It's almost like if you're a part of that team, things are going so bad that everyone's just looking to point fingers, but Brady has the power to not. It's like the position that he's in. He's kind of earned where no one would question it, and he is maybe because he's not performing the same way that he's used to performing. He is lashing out and taking it out on everyone else because it is weird that he doesn't have that same chemistry with the Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But it's like, who do you blame? Brady's playing bad. I think it's pretty obvious. But what about those guys? Because some of those balls are in their hands.
Yeah.
But it's like, are you guys just not practicing? You're not putting in more reps? Evans has dropped so many balls this year.
And if you look at that receiving core, it's like Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones. Like, these are guys that are experienced, should be able to fit into a system with Tom Brady. They should be like the same knowledge level of football. You know what I mean? At least to keep up. You think there would be chemistry easily because they're all veterans and they kind of know the game.
And they're good enough that if you're that caliber receiver, you can make an average quarterback look good. We see that in a lot of other teams. So if Brady's not the same old Tom Brady, he's still maybe an average to below average quarterback right now. But if you're a Mike Evans, you're a Chris Godwin, you can make a average quarterback look good, and they're still not doing that. They're just no one's on the same page.
I think that what we're seeing, especially with a couple of teams in the NFC North, and even even in the AFC as well with the Dolphins, is that when you create a good culture on your team, there seems to be kind of like a leading by example through the culture that you build, right? What Mike McDaniel has done with Tua and the rest of the team, for that matter, with Kirk Cousins and dancing shirtless with the chains and everything, and all with Dan Campbell and the way that he has rah-rahed that group to kind of all rally around each other. And I don't know if this is a Skip Bayless take or not, but when you have a guy like Tom Brady who has days, like built-in days off, and who is disappearing in training camp and is doing all of these types of things, to where it's like, when you kind of like think about the effort that you're putting in, what type of effort are you putting in leading up to Sunday, to then all of a sudden you get kicked in the teeth on Sunday, and then you're surprised, oh, but we've got Tom Brady. Oh, we've got we have this God-given talent. It just should happen because we think it should. I don't know. But it's like you're seeing the culture that has been built on the other side with other teams, and that's not necessarily happening right now with a team led by Tom Brady, where you're seeing the results like that on the sidelines.
I think what no one has addressed with the terrible play of Tampa Bay is how big of a factor Bruce Arians was with the team. Because I don't think there's any – it doesn't seem like there's any respect or like gelling with the coaching staff. I just read something today that Tom Brady, without telling the coaching staff, has been tweaking the plays. He just doesn't trust what he's giving him.
I mean, that could definitely be a part of it. But I think the overall vibe, I do agree with Pete, is like – I think there's multiple things you can look at on this team and poke flaws in, but I think Tom Brady is the person who is coming in, is supposed to bring this leadership and this huge value to this team, and he's not necessarily doing that. And I don't think missing practices and having all this stuff where you're not there and a part of the culture is not necessarily helping that on top of it. Do you guys see him? Me personally, I do not. I think he either retires or goes to a different team next year. Do you think there's a chance he stays with Tampa Bay for another year?
I think he continues to play.
I think that's a given. The team, I don't think it's a guarantee he'll stay at Tampa Bay.
I think he either goes back to New England or he goes to San Francisco. San Francisco being the hometown team. Trey Lance is going to be injured again. Maybe you give Trey Lance one more year and say, hey, we're going to ride with Tom until he's ready to retire.
I think Tom Brady's smart enough that if he goes and he moves away, he only sticks with Tampa Bay if they can put pieces around him to help him go far. And if he leaves Tampa Bay, he's only going to a team that's like
ready,
a piece away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's not going to a rebuilding team. I don't think he'll go back to New England unless New England all of a sudden gets 3 top-notch wide receivers, a monster defense like they used to have and great running backs. I don't think he's doing that. I think San Francisco would be the best fit because they have star power.
Yeah.
They're like, come join us and win the Super Bowl. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has sparked a lot of debate and his play this past weekend, and it was a big topic of conversation during the Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. You guys have always accused me of being a Skip Bayless. I want you guys to hear this argument, and I then want an apology from both of you because I would never go as far as Skip did in talking with Shannon Sharpe today on the Undisputed.
That this man, for 6 straight years on this show that we have been partners at this debate desk, has tried to send Tom Brady home, said he's washed up, his arm is in decline, and he should just go on home. It started the first day of this show in September of 2016, and he has been wrong for 6 straight years, and he's going to be wrong again. I'm standing by what I say.
How convinced are you Tom Brady's going to win the Super Bowl?
Okay, I picked him to win it. I'm not backing off.
Well, put something on it.
Well, what do you mean I put my pride on it. I put my pride. Who did you pick? You picked the Rams and the Chargers, okay?
And the only difference is everybody knows the Rams are bad, but they don't want to say Tom Brady is playing just as bad as Matt Stafford.
Them off.
Skip, they're in the Tampa division. They're in the worst division in football.
Good. Are they going to be in the playoffs? Help me out.
Skip,
I need you to
That's your argument.
Okay,
That's your argument.
What do you mean that's my argument?
Your argument is that they're going to be in the playoffs. Is Tom Brady playing bad? Okay. Yes or no?
Yes, he played poorly yesterday.
What do you mean yesterday?
Okay,
all year.
But you're giving him 100% of the blame?
Because
that's just, you have no objectivity. It's just straight Brady hate. Wait a minute. This is just straight hate by a guy who's jealous that he is still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Skip, that's what you do.
That's the point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous.
No.
Skip, I did what I did.
I never said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Skip, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got 3 Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than you.
Better.
Skip, what I got to see what you do? You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal
Even the way when he gets excited, his voice goes up into this whole other octave. It's just like you.
Not me.
Can I point out how bad you are with trying to show us something to make us then change our opinion about what we
so
like,
you.
and all you did was prove it.
And whoever was handling the editing of that video,
very bad.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. There was a shorter clip online, but I had to go longer because I needed.
All you did was prove our point.
That's not what I am.
That was the biggest hypocritical take by Skip Bayless I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He is calling out Shannon Sharpe for saying that that somebody is trash playing till they're 45, whatever. Do you know Skip has been saying that about LeBron James for the last 20 fucking years?
Yeah.
He's calling him out for something he does himself.
Well, and honestly, it's like we have all watched Tom Brady play enough throughout the last fucking how long? 20 fucking years that he's been doing this. We know that there's still a fucking chance that if he gets into the playoffs as a 6-7 seed with a, what's 17 games now? A 10-7 team or a 9-8 team, he can still take that team, run through the playoffs, and win a Super Bowl. That is not like a crazy thing to imagine, at least to me.
See, and especially, the NFC where, you do have good teams in the Vikings and the Eagles, records-wise, but...
The reason why somebody like Tom Brady, like I've said before, the only way I would bet against him if he's not on the field, if he's retired, because you know that there's still a thimble of a chance that something can happen. If we're talking about a Tom Brady like in the NBA, it's harder to do because you're asking them to make the playoffs and then beat a team in a 7-game series. anything can happen in the NFL playoffs. You get to a wild card and you catch a fucking Philadelphia Eagles who's favored to win the whole thing. You catch him on a bad night and Tom Brady is clicking. Then what the we'll remember this episode and be like, remember how bad we talked about Tampa Bay? All of a sudden they're in the NFC Championship.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like you can never count them out.
You lose by 1 or you lose by 30 or however much they did. A loss is a loss in the NFL.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm not going to be out here saying that the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl. I do not think that's going to happen. Is there a chance? Is it possible that Tom Brady could pull something like that off? If anybody could do it, he's the guy.
Think about how crazy that would be. No, at this point, no one has questioned that with how much he's won, how long he's been playing, how he's done it with 2 different teams, that he's one of the greatest. At what level would you put him if they fucking win the Super Bowl this year? After everything that's happened.
God level.
It'd be insane. Like, do you even put him in the same level of other players, or is just Tom Brady and everyone else in the history of the league?
I mean, it's kind of already like that. I mean, he individually has more Super Bowls than any other team. So he's already put himself in a tier that's pretty untouchable. Like, there's really no Jordan LeBron argument with Tom Brady. It's just fucking Tom Brady.
Just Tom. Yeah.
If he were to take a 6-7 team where they sit right now, and especially if they went into the playoffs like at 9-8, like barely over 500, and they fucking won, I mean, that's he's untouchable.
Because especially this year in the NFC, as I kind of mentioned with the Eagles and the Vikings, I don't trust a single team in the NFC right now. Do you? Do you go like
I
this
trust
team
the
is,
Eagles.
Philly.
Do you?
I do.
Philly.
I completely agree with Walsh. I'm gonna be taking that bet right after we finish up today. The Eagles are very good, and especially if you watch them in this game this week, it was just like so dialed, so like no problems with the Giants. A division
They had a problem
opponent.
with the Colts, though.
Okay, but I think that there's more that comes in with the Giants game, like
Divisional stuff. all
Yeah,
of that.
exactly. I think the Colts, that's a fluke, flash in the pan type of thing.
Honestly, I think the Colts game was like they just played to their level.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they took them for granted. I don't think anyone can beat. I'm a big believer in the Niners defense. I think the Niners defense is fucking insane. I think the difference between Philly and San Francisco is all this star power in San Francisco, but it's up in the air because of their quarterback play. You don't know who's going to play. Injuries now. Debo's injured.
Yeah.
And you get McCaffrey, who one game is great and then the other nothing. The difference between them is the offense in San Francisco is somewhat questionable. Defense is fucking great when they're healthy. Philly has both sides locked in.
Yeah.
You have, they don't have like a Stephon Diggs or, that's not true. They have A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. But Jalen Hurts is like a bigger, faster, stronger Eckler. And that's scary to think about.
Yeah.
And then you have their defense. Darius Slay. They just
Didn't
dominate
Fletcher
people.
Cox just come back too, like 2 weeks ago?
Their line is great. Their linebacker crew is great. Their secondary. It's going to be tough to fucking beat them.
Also, I think one thing, because you're absolutely right, Miguel, and it's crazy because the one thing that you don't hear a lot about is the Eagles' offensive line, and they just have massive, massive dudes. I think if they have like the highest average height of any offensive line, and if you can have guys across the board where your shortest dude, I think their center is like 6'3" or something, and they have 2 guys that are like 6'6", 6'7", like that's not a bad little retaining wall to have in front of you.
True. A couple of teams that are fighting not only for playoff spots, but I guess playoff positioning would be what we saw on Sunday Night Football last night between Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert. And I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of debate going into it. There was a clip from Emmanuel Acho talking about how, stats don't lie and how Tua Tagovailoa is owning Justin Herbert in all of these major statistical categories. And then you go up and down in what happened in Sunday Night Football, and you had Justin Herbert throw for 367 yards while Tua threw for like 123 yards, something like that. And I wondered if kind of seeing that, and I think I probably already know the answer with Miguel, is did your perception seeing those kind of side by side change anything for you?
Unbiased opinion, I think, and I've even said this with my opinion of Justin Herbert, that he hasn't done anything. And because on paper, you can't really use the excuse of Herbert not having anyone, because he has a pretty good roster. Yes, his coach, not a big believer. Time management, he's like Brandon Staley is just shit. But Herbert is very talented, and when they're healthy, like you saw last night, they're clicking.
But they weren't. They definitely weren't healthy. Their defense is starting.
Their defense. I mean, their offense was back a little bit.
I bet on Miami because Derwin James, who I think is one of the best defenders in the league, is out. So, yeah, their defense was shit. But it didn't matter because Miami was just as hobbled on offense. So I'm talking just straight offensively with the Ecklers and the Allens and Mike Williams. I mean, having Mike Williams is like having Calvin Johnson and Cortland Sutton, like 3.0. But Herbert is very good when he has everyone healthy. They're very good. I think you have I'm not going to take the position of this person's better over this, because I don't think Tua's gotten a fair shot. Tua hasn't had this roster until this season. He hasn't had this coach until this season. I'm not going to throw Tua under the bus. I think you give Tua another year or 2 more years with Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniels. I think he's going to be on the same level.
But I mean, like, Justin in his first season had a coach that ended up getting fired. I mean, like, you have Staley coming in. Like, I mean, we've seen players. I mean, we saw Marcus, have this with, I think it was, was it Wisenhunt? And then they went to Malarkey. But, I mean, like, you saw a transition in which they brought in a different head coach in Mike Vrabel, and then Mike Vrabel didn't set up Marcus for success or anything like that. Like, Justin has gone through a regime change, and he now has set the record for the most passing yards by any player in his first 3 seasons. He's the only player, aside from Dan Marino, with over 90 touchdown passes in his first 3 seasons. So to say that he hasn't done anything is, I mean, from a record standpoint, I mean,
yeah,
that's there.
The argument will always be individual stats. When I say he hasn't done anything, where's he taken his team? Then we can talk about him amongst the elites. But this comparison, when you say young quarterbacks this class, Tua, Justin Herbert, this is all individual stats. Hasn't Tua broken a fuck ton of records this year? Doesn't he lead a bunch of quarterbacks in rating, in
efficiency?
His first year with Mike McDaniels. That's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't like Justin Herbert is this far ahead than Tua. Because you see Tua with a coach who sets him up for success and a weapon like Tyreek Hill, possibly adding a couple more pieces. You see what he can do with it.
So in the draft class of 2020, so you have one of those 3. Or, I mean, you could take anyone from 2020, but I think that, like, we focus in on Tua and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert.
Joe Burrow. I would take Joe Burrow. I think you give Joe Burrow the Eagles' offensive line, and Joe Burrow would win fucking MVP.
What do you think?
And Braxton? That has nothing to do with how I dislike Justin Herbert. I think Burrow.
I mean, he was drafted number 1 overall. I mean, there was that.
I think when I look at these arguments, you take the quarterback and you say, okay, if he was with the Chargers and what they had, could he have as much success as he did with the Bengals? And I think across the board, at the Chargers, at the Dolphins, I think if Joe Burrow were to take the same path as both those guys have taken, I think that he succeeds in all three. I think you take Herbert and you put him with the Bengals and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and that same team that Cincinnati had that went to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure he succeeds there. Now with Miami, I don't know. I think it would be a similar story to what Tua is experiencing, that it would take time until, Mike McDaniel got there. So I think, to answer your question, because I think Joe Burrow would succeed in any scenario that he was presented with in between those three, I think he does well. I have to take Joe Burrow.
I think those three quarterbacks, if we're comparing them, I think ultimately if you were forced to pick someone, it really just comes down to personal preference and who you like as like a guy, who you like as a person.
Well, I love Joe Burrow.
Because the thing with Justin Herbert is, out of the three of them, he has the best technical skills.
Herbert does.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
Justin
he's
Herbert,
the most athletic. He has the strongest arm.
He has the best frame. He's the tallest. All of those
the
things.
prototypical quarterback
is Justin.
Herbert.
If we're building in Madden, it's Justin Herbert. Yeah.
But now, if you're asking a person, if you're asking me, it would be like what's important to me, or what fires me up and what gets me going. The reason I would choose Joe Burrow is because I think he's tougher. There's something about
mentally tougher. I think that's really what it comes down, because they're both tough dudes. They've played, football.
Played through injury as well.
Yeah, as long as they have. But I think Walsh hit it on the nose. It's the between the ears. It's that clutch. You never see Joe Burrow phased. And he also does the extra part where, again, what Walsh mentioned, is he's like a rah-rah guy, great leader. He pumps his dudes up, and he goes out there, he performs, makes good decisions. I think that's really what the difference is between those two, is the between the ears.
That intangibility, right, of that leadership type, where, even the Keenan Allen's Mike Williams has said, Justin is growing into it. It's not something that naturally comes to him.
I want to set it straight. When you're picking one over the other two, and you're saying Burrow is tougher, I'm not saying Justin's not tough.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean Joe Burrow, not just mentally, but when I'm watching him, I see a Josh Allen on the field, but makes better decisions. That's what I see. I see Burrow scrambling, but sliding. Yeah. He thinks long term while he's making a play that's going to fuck everybody up on the other side, but fire up his entire team. That's what I see in Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think you start a team with either of them. I think you end up.
I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. Again, I think the difference here is thin as a hair. It's really nothing crazy. It's not like Joe's so much better. But if we're gonna really compare those things, I think he wins out by that.
I'll just drop all of them. Give me Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, for real.
Not Russell Wilson.
No.
Rochelle.
I cannot believe that they have Russ until 2028. Before we get out of here tonight and punish Juan Magoo, we had a pretty serious injury to one Kyler Murray on Monday Night Football. Looks like it happened on the third play of the game. It was very odd. The whole play was really weird. Is that it seemed like a broken play from the jump, and he just took off and ran, and then just as he was sliding, his leg gave out on him, and it was just he didn't even try to get up. It was just
You buying it?
I feel he's just trying to get more time on COD.
He's trying to play video games,
yeah,
man.
The thing. It will. This whole thing about the video game will follow him, because now it's hey, you can actually play the video games now, and that's the first thing we all think about. It came into my brain as soon as well, now he's got time to rehab and play video games.
Hey, we're not here to to wish ill on people that are hurt, but
it's
what
convenient
typically happens when you sign a big contract?
You get hurt.
Boy, howdy, was it good that he signed that.
And what happens when you get hurt?
You play video games.
You play video games.
You make money sitting. Hey,
it is.
I'm calling it right now. Josh Jacobs playing for a massive contract right now.
Next year,
he'll get it. Next year, he's going to suck.
Yeah, he'll be hurt. contract years are no joke for sure.
Did you guys see? So 3 days ago, so the Pelicans, to switch to basketball really quick, the Pelicans played the Suns twice in the last 3 days. So the first game, the Pelicans were up by like 8, almost no time left, and they threw the ball to Zion. The Suns have given up, and he does a 360 windmill dunk. Like, it's over at this point. Suns didn't get back on D.
5 seconds, 3.
Just a 360 windmill. Now,
and he didn't get hurt, so good for him.
This has nothing to do with like you liking Zion or Duke or whatever. Which side do you guys err on? Do you think that was disrespectful? Do you think he should have just ran the time? Or, like, basically, are you with the Suns? Because the Suns got pissed and, like, tried to fight him.
Yeah. And I think...
Try being a little scuffle. Are you on Zion's side, or are you on the Phoenix side?
Go, Braxton, because you know where I'm going.
I mean, that's what the people come to see, right?
Is it offensive?
I think I'm kind of in the middle, because if I'm on the Suns, I would want to fight him.
Game was well in hand. It had nothing to do with anything. There were 5 seconds to go.
If I'm on the Suns, I want to fight him.
You are playing the Western Conference champions. You are at home. You are, there's a lot of emotion in that game.
It's like a playoff.
Yeah,
atmosphere.
It gives you that type of a vibe. It's absolutely disrespectful. And you don't do that. You don't show people up or anything like that. There is just kind of a act like you've been there before, and he didn't do that. And I think that you can punctuate that, like, even after the bell goes, like, after the horn goes off, But, I mean, like, to go and to kind of do that.
His teammate, Jonas Valanciunas, was on the bench, and you can see him right when Zion dunked it, and he hid behind his teammate. He's like, oh, no, I don't know how that's going to go, man.
Let's watch that again.
Like, watch, he has a towel around him. He's the tallest guy. There he is. He's like, oh, I don't know, man.
I don't know about that, Jim. I don't know about that one, Jim.
Oh, good.
Yeah, don't do that.
My opinion on it, I'm kind of with Braxton. I see why you would be pissed if you're Phoenix. But right now, Phoenix is like the most unlikable team.
Yeah.
Like you see that game last week where Ayton was like trying to punk people, against the Lakers. He was trying to, and Beverly shoved him. Devin Booker's not the most likable guy right now.
No.
Chris Paul's not the most likable guy.
Never was.
And Zion, who dropped 35 in this game, was like, oh, fuck you. And if you're going to tell him act like you've been there before, he hasn't been there before. So it's like, yeah, whatever, I'm young, I'll fucking do it.
It's like, what's the difference?
But to your point, Zion, we don't know how long he's going to be on the floor. And as much as that pisses off the other team, that is what the fans come to see.
What if he hurt himself? Like, I mean, you've seen
on a 360 windmill? Yeah.
I mean, like, kickers
hindsight,
get hurt celebrating, or people get hurt celebrating all the time. Like, why put yourself in that position?
But here's the deal. The game was over. This was a big deal. This was the talk of the whole NBA. 2 days later, they play again. If you're Phoenix, what do?
Foul him hard.
You make sure you don't lose again. Make sure you stop him. You know what happened? Zion drops another 35 on him and beats him.
Jeez.
It's like, what, you just wanted to fight because you got pissed? Why don't you take it out on the next game and make sure you win? And they didn't.
Well.
Oh. Fuck Phoenix.
Too bad, so sad.
Too bad, so sad for you as well, Juan Miguel, as this week's loser.
Zion doesn't give a shit about optics.
He doesn't. No. Mr. Optics.
He doesn't see very well.
He doesn't.
You knew where I was going with this. Miguel is this week's loser.
Everyone was a loser.
Yeah. For whatever reason, we decided we were going to pick all of the overs and unders of these games. And that really messed with things. We had been consistently over 50% all year. And then we did over-unders. And
by the way, a little teaser. When football starts coming to a close, we need to have a real discussion about these picks and punishments.
What do you mean?
Tune in.
Well, we're in it now.
Well, I just think it's something we need to reevaluate.
Because we don't have football picks anymore?
Because you're worried. I mean, as a person who actually did really well last year in your NBA picks, I'm a little surprised by that.
Is that what you're concerned about?
No. I just said whether all I said is I think it's something we should discuss.
That's a lot more diplomatic than what happened this week in our fantasy group. So we didn't even talk about that. This is going to be our final thing before the punishment, which was the fact that Jordan, who has been a friend of the pod, P1, decided that he was going to not just like go to the edge of the cliff and look. He was going to jump off that cliff and call for Braxton's head on the fantasy football chat. It was very entertaining. As a person who stirs up a lot of stuff in that group, I have always been one to just like tiptoe the line, but then decided, you know what, I'm not gonna go over that ledge. Jordan writes, people of Taking Back Sundays, I implore you to request that our commissioner, Braxton Tanner, relinquish his title as commissioner of this league. His lack of transparency, abuse of power, and failure to quell illegitimate accusations whilst provoking uncertainty in the legitimacy of our league processes has proven his ineptitude. He should no longer remain a steward of this league. It's time for a new regime. In simple terms...
That's the best part.
Mr. Condescension. I believe that we should force Braxton to step down as commissioner of this league and pass the responsibility to someone else.
The thing is Jordan would actually say something like that. He would mansplain himself.
In simple terms.
That's not an unreasonable thing to believe that Jordan would do.
And then here is where Jordan very much misstepped, is that when you come after Braxton, when you have a chat with his fiancé in it, you better be ready to come hard. And Jordan absolutely got sunned by Jera, who proceeded to say, let's see, I'm here to have fun and create opportunities with my friends to chat and get together. You're ruining it, Jordan.
Well, I think the part you missed is that he doubles down.
He did double down.
Because I in the text thread ask, what have I done? And also I text him on the side because we obviously, this is all hindsight and conversation since then. With Peter, you obviously are come after me, and it's something I can deal with. I see you every week. I know your motivation behind it, let's say.
Content.
and so I get it. Jordan, I don't see that often. And he's coming he's literally saying, you should not be in this position. We need to change the regime in his terms. And I will be honest, and people may think I'm, dumb for this, but I took it seriously. And I texted him and I said, hey, are you being serious? And he said, I want to spark debate. I want to stir the pot. I think that there are changes that can be made. That's what he said. And I took that as, okay, that change is that he wants me out. So I'm going to defend myself.
Yeah. And defend yourself you did. I mean, I don't mean to say that Jera fought your battle. You fought your battle quite.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. Messing with Jera, and especially in something where her friends are involved, she's not going to take it lightly.
Yeah. I think if you weren't involved, the most laughable part of this whole thing, and the most obvious part is, you, Peter, you're not very good at being a troll.
No.
You're not. That's why as much shit as you've said in that chat, you haven't had anyone like Nayoko or Jera fight back because you're just not good at being a troll. You've tried. Jordan's very good at being a troll. He was so good at being a fucking troll that people took him seriously.
Yeah,
but is that being good. I guess troll, if that's really what you want to be.
Because really, at the end of the day, if you're on the other side of that and you got mad at Jordan, that's what I'm laughing at. Because you took it seriously. You bit it. You took it. You took the fucking bait.
Yeah.
But is that a win?
Why
is that a good thing?
I'm not
Why
saying
is that
that's
like, oh, you're so funny because he manipulated you into believing him that he was being serious, even though all signs and everybody believed that he was being serious.
No one is saying that that's a victory. No one's saying that's another notch on his belt. As somebody who wasn't in the chat, who wasn't addressed, everyone else who was watching it, what I'm personally laughing at is people took the bait. People got mad and took Jordan's bait. That's what I'm laughing at. That's what's funny to me.
I mean, in hindsight,
Jordan's a fucking troll.
Because after the fact, it was just like he was saying that he was.
The
just,
text he
but
sent,
I mean, it is in hindsight.
The text he sent me directly is he goes, Jesus Christ, and I'm like, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
that shit backfired.
But finally.
But to be honest, of all the people I've talked to this about and shown the conversation, you and Jordan are really the only ones that have understood that it was a joke. No one else.
Of course, everyone's going to side with you and your wife. Come on, man.
No, well,
it wasn't serious.
I mean, without you can even take the context of my response out of it. I guess you know Jordan well enough to understand that. I just don't. I didn't understand. Like, there's a way you could have made it pretty obvious that you were joking, and I think if his objective really was to troll and get us to bite on this bait and upset us, then yeah, he did a good job of that. But if it seemed like his intention was to be like joking and in jest as he responded, and I think if you look back at what he said, there was nothing identifying jest.
So let me bring this up from like a parent standpoint, because as a dad, you don't get upset by the small things. At least like one small thing. It's finally like the smallest thing that is the combination, an accumulation of all of the smallest things to where you go, I think I'm done being patient now.
Yeah, that was that moment.
And
for
that
sure.
was that moment where you go, this wasn't the biggest deal in the moment, but it was the accumulation of everything. And my culpability probably involved in that, where it's just like, that's it. Enough. I'm done. You have gone over. You are now attacking my fiance, and and Jared was the first one, and I'm not placing this on Jared at all, but I mean, like, she was the first one to respond. Says, "Are you throwing your hat into the ring?" And at that point, there was like, "That's it, I'm done."
I think
that was a tipping point.
The difference is, it's not. It's to me, okay. I think to be safe, it's my opinion. It's not necessarily what Jordan said. It's the people. They don't know him as. Take what Jordan.
They don't know him.
Take what Jordan said. Put that in our guys' text. Would that have been taken as seriously as it was in the fantasy group chat? No. Because it's the people. Naoko doesn't know. Even Jera doesn't know Jordan's dynamic. But you put that in our group, or the Boner Dogs text, that wouldn't have gone the way it did.
He did say that part of the reason why this all came up was because of him listening to this podcast, and he felt compelled to say something because we presented a compelling argument against this corrupt commissioner.
Yeah. No, well, I for those exact same reasons, Miguel, I think that's why it became this situation. I think it was not the right place for him to voice that joke because of the people that are in there. Because I literally wake up in the morning and Jera's like, you should see what's going on. This is embarrassing. My friends are a part of this. Then it's like, okay, well, is he being serious? And that's the other thing, is I literally text him individually, and he could have been like, yeah, I'm just busting balls. And everything would have been fine, but he didn't. He said, I think changes need to be made. I want to stir the pot and spark debate. So I don't see I don't know. I if you want to say that I'm soft for responding the way that I did, that's fine. But I gave him the opportunity to be like, yeah, no, I don't feel that you should step down or you have to defend your honor or whatever he was getting at.
But if he was really trying to troll, he wouldn't have said that because it would have ended it.
Yeah, that's true.
But now he just learned his lesson the hard way because it wasn't taken the way he wanted it to.
Yeah.
So now he's like, okay, I can't do that anymore. So for the rest of the time, he's going to be walking on eggshells around you.
He will. It's
That's his own problem.
I was getting a haircut at the time, so I got out of my haircut. And I was like, oh shit. This went real, like, because like I was like getting out of my car and I had sent that like 3-word text, of things about Braxton, and then I kind of was like, oh, this went places. So that was fun. Where we'll go next is to Miguel's punishment.
Get it over with.
Yeah.
I had no involvement in this whatsoever.
Yeah, I was walking out here when you guys were.
He just told me what it was, and he was basically threatening me, being like, unless you support this idea, I'm going to just give it to you. And so I was like, okay, I support your idea.
It's true.
That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened, because I originally was thinking that maybe this was going to be a Braxton punishment. But then I didn't really have any other ideas, so it is now a Juan Magoo punishment. And it's something that I don't know if we've talked about as have we gone too far with this. But it is one, because you're not one who is easily grossed out by food. Things don't really get to you. You're kind of a hard person to punish, so we have to go a little extra or something like that when it comes to it.
Backhanded compliment.
So this is something that we actually, my wife found it. We were at Bevmo yesterday, and we were looking at different liquors or whatever, and she discovered this on the wall as a little.
I have to drive. I have to drive home.
You do have to drive, and hopefully you have yourself another big selling day, because you might be on the toilet for a while with this one. Have you ever heard of the Packy One Chip Challenge, Miguel?
Oh, I have to do that. That is bad.
And I'm hesitant to make you do the whole thing, but it turns your tongue blue.
It does that too?
Yeah.
How long have you had this? Didn't you get this shipped from
yesterday? No.
I thought you've had it for a while.
No, do not eat this if you are sensitive to spicy foods, allergic to peppers. I
don't like this.
Says if you're pregnant. You're not pregnant, are you?
I don't know.
Keep out of reach of children. After touching the chip, wash your hands with soap and do
probably
not
give
touch
him a
your
glove.
eyes or other sensitive areas. Seek medical assistance should you experience difficulty breathing, fainting, or extended nausea.
What is this on the Scoville unit?
A lot. A lot more than anything we've ever done. You should definitely get a glove.
The Reaper.
If I don't want to touch it.
I'm going to say, again, you should definitely.
I don't know where a glove is, though.
Like a latex glove in this garage. You don't have a latex glove.
Can you, do we have to touch it? Can you just, move it in the box and I'll, you're going to make me eat the whole thing?
Hold on. So what does it say? What to expect. Made with Carolina Reaper pepper and scorpion pepper, this high-voltage chip was created for the shocking pleasure of intense heat and pain. Number 1, you will experience a tongue takeover. Number 2, a shock of senses. 3, surge of tears. 4, a jolt to the gut. And then 5, a voltage overload. I am hesitant to make him eat the whole thing.
I don't think he should eat the whole thing.
Okay.
Can I just take a bite?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm not.
This is, dangerous.
I'm shaking.
Yeah. The level
I've watched a lot of people.
How did those videos go?
Not good.
Well.
Okay, I'm gonna take a small bite.
Take a small bite. That'll probably be enough.
Oh my god, dude. I'm just biting fucking gas. Oh.
Tongue takeover or shock of senses, probably.
I eat a lot of spicy food. That's bad. That's really bad.
Did it even taste good?
I don't know if this is healthy.
That was like this.
Like immediate bad everywhere. I'm kind of scared.
You're fine. Just remember that it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Deep breaths. Get some water, beer, alcohol always helps. Bread.
I have consumed a lot of spicy food, and this is the worst I've ever had. That was a tiny fucking
That
bite.
was a small bite. Sweaty a little bit.
I could see you trembling.
I'm trembling.
I feel bad. I want to reiterate that I had no part in putting this together.
Oh, no. Oh, no. God, I hope this is a put on.
This is bad.
Oh, Miguel.
Should probably go get some milk, huh?
My lips are shaking. I would try that if I were you guys.
No, I don't have a plan on that. It was an $8 chip. I know that's probably the worst thing to say at this point.
Oh, I don't know if that helps.
No, not at all.
How you feeling?
It's bad. I'm not putting anything on. This is one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah. It's just fire. It's fire in my gums and my lips and my fucking teeth.
Yeah.
It's like my teeth are on fire.
His lips are shaking right now.
It's usually when you eat something spicy, for me, it would have traveled where I'm like drenched in sweat already. There's something about it that is just lingering in here before it goes to the body heat, and that's what's scaring me more.
I've been wanting to try one of these for a long time, but you're making me scared.
I have very high tolerance with spicy food, and this isn't anything like any of the. I don't know what I'm saying. Any hot sauces we've ever done.
It's just beyond.
Yeah,
it's just beyond.
Eating that whole chip would fucking kill me.
That may, yeah. Let's see, Scoville unit.
It should be on there.
Is it?
Yeah. Here, look it up. Give it to me. You can Google it. You're going to make it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Scoville unit for a Packy chip.
Yes, Miguel. 5 million.
For comparison, the Scoville unit on a jalapeno.
It's like maybe in the 10,000s, I think.
Is 2,000 to 8,000.
Okay.
The Scoville unit for a Packy chip is 2 million.
Sheesh.
The man is sweating, and now I feel bad. This is.
Are you guys gonna eat this?
No.
Are you gonna try this at any point?
Never.
No.
Can I take it to work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
you
can take it to work.
But anybody who tries it, you need to film it. We need to be able to post it.
We need to.
At work that's untouchable with spicy food, and I think this is it. Sorry, there's a person at work
What's his name? Mark
Hogan. He's untouchable with spicy food, and I think this is the one.
This is the one.
This is the one that would get him.
I think Braxton's right. We need to reevaluate. I think Braxton's right. I think we need to reevaluate.
The worst part
That's
is
what I'm
how
saying.
This is
We should really talk about it, guys.
how this is gonna come out.
Yeah, that was the thing. You're gonna hopefully.
I hope that it's such a small amount that everything else in your stomach will overwhelm the exit.
Let's get you something.
Yeah. Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
And lose.
Not clear buttholes.